All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, one person to the live lecture, and welcome everyone else who is watching this recording. This is going to be the last, I think the last real lecture, because I'm going to go over today things you need to understand to help better understand the writing of the film analysis. I'm going to go over examples of A and B and C and D essays from essay 2 to go over the pros and cons so you know what not to do and what to do. And then I'm also going to go over the rubric for essay 3. And then I'm going to show you where you can submit it. And after this lecture, you will be able to submit your essay as soon as you want to, and you'll be done with the course. Okay, I mean, it's the final assignment. You're not gonna have to wait till July 7th to turn it in if you are already finished with it. Okay, and you can start your summer early. But just know, and I'll repeat this at the end of the lecture also, once you submit your essay and I grade it, it's a done deal. Okay, it's done. I'm not gonna take the time to grade it, give you a 75, and then you wish to redo it and say, oh, I turned it in early, but I realized now I shouldn't have. So can I redo it? Once you get your final score on that essay and your score in the class is finalized, done. Okay. Class for you is over. School's out. Cue up Alice Cooper. All right. Watch Dazed and Confused and enjoy your month off. Okay. Until next semester starts. Okay. So make sure that, like, while I'm giving you that window early to turn it in, to submit it, once you submit it, you're done. Okay. So make sure that you are really happy with the final product before hitting submit. Okay, make sure that's very clear. Okay, let's see, should we do film analysis first or the essay corrections from essay 2? Jana, do you have any preference what you want to go into first?
No preference.
No preference. Thanks. Fine. Okay. Well, we'll do essay 2 stuff first, and then we will go into Candyman, talking about Candyman, and then talking about the rubric for essay 3, and then submitting it. Okay. So let me figure out which essays are first. Okay. Now I'm going to start backward. I'm going to start with the A's. Okay, with the A's, and then I'm going to move down to the lower scored essays. So that way you can see the regression. Okay, you can we'll start off with an essay about like the way where you're trying to achieve, and then we can get down to an essay and that needs help. Okay. All right, so here we go. Share my screen. Okay, so this is a essay by Jerry Garcia, and this was an A essay, a high A, very high A. Okay, and I'm going to go over the reasons why it is a high A. And just understand that as I go over this, what you're not really going to hear me talk about is whether I agree with one's analysis or not. Okay, my class is not teaching you a perspective. I'm not here to get you to agree with any idea. Okay, my class, even though I talk about existentialism, I talk about racism, I talked about Juneteenth last week, all that kind of stuff. All right, I have a lot of opinions about the court ruling that just happened. All right, but none of those things are a part of this course, as in a requirement for you to agree with or to voice or to make a judgment where I determine whether it's a good judgment or poor judgment. This is a writing class. This is a communication class. Okay. Your opinion and your thoughts on things are not really what I'm here to judge. I'm here to judge your communication and your professionalism in your communication in terms of your presentation. You know, we are as a society, and even in like professional workplaces, okay, we're a lot less socially and conversationally strict. Most professional organizations now these days, especially one more and more as more millennials are becoming the leaders, they are instituting much more casualness in the form of conversation. Okay, but that does not mean that there's a casualness in style and presentation. Okay, so for example, traditionally in essay writing, a like one of the first no-nos is no first person. Okay, but as we have moved much more to a social, can you all hear? Am I being overpowered by the sounds of nature? Let me know if you can't hear me over. There's quite activity going on. Okay.
I can't hear any of the nature at all. You're good.
Okay, great. Good. I can, which is very nice. But um, so there is, I think with social media, it has brought in a less formalism in our form of communication. Okay. And so when it comes to like actual what we're saying, we can be a little more informal, such as the more opinion I first person. People are really into blogs, and they are really into this feeling that like the person that I'm speaking to is an individual. So you know, I am not going to hold people to a conservative rigidness of traditional ways of writing essays in terms of language. Okay, I'm much more liberal in terms of what you say and how you say it, but I am still a stickler on formal presentation. Okay, I still, if I post my opinions on social media, I still use capital letters and punctuation and commas. And when I write an email to my principal at school, whom I'm on very good terms with, we hang out, we talk, we're very informal. I still use capital letters and I still use punctuation and I still present a very formal, even though the tone is not formal, because I do say things like, "Hey, bud," "Hey, man," even though he's my superior. I still write it in a presentational way. Okay. Same goes to my supervisor, to my department head here at GTC. We're on a first name basis. It's very casual. She's like, "I'm not your superior. I'm just running the department." Okay. And so I address her informally, but I present my communication in a formal manner, even if my language is informal. Okay. So so with your writing, one of the major things that I am really focusing on in terms of your style of writing and your essays is the presentation of it. Okay, the presentation way more than your language. I'm not going to go after your vocabulary. I'm not going to really go after your opinions, those kind of things. But I am going after that you are presenting it in a professional way. Okay, long explanation. I'm wordy. Okay. So in this right here for this essay, while it begins with this very personal discussion, okay, I am not going to go through this, and in all these essays, I'm not going to go through what these people have to actually say about their poetry. I'm going over how they are presenting their conversation. Okay. And I don't know if I really emphasized that earlier in the semester. I hope I did. But if I didn't, know this for your film analysis. I'm not going to deduct points if you have a weak film analysis ability, because this class is not about film analysis. This class is about writing and style. Okay. Communication. So here we have, okay, the first thing first is last name and page numbers. Okay, if you notice on the screen, it is gray while the rest is black. Okay, and that tells you that this is in the proper place. MLA is not good about making things not confusing. Okay, because they use the same root word for two different things. There is a header, which is right here, and then there's a heading. So this is head with an ER, and this is head with an ING. Stupid. I know. I don't know why. I didn't make the rules, okay? Your last name and page number needs to go in the header, not the heading line, okay? So in order to get here, you have to double click. I had to double click twice. You probably didn't hear it because if you can't hear the really loud birds, you won't be able to hear my mouse click, okay? But I clicked twice and I got here. And you can't just type the page number there because whatever you type here, if you type it, it's going to repeat on every page. The way you get it to go from 1 to 2 to 3 is by going to insert and then going to page number, okay, top of page, and plane number 3, where it's on the right. I know there's plenty of you who are saying, why are you going over this, Byers? You did this for SA1. You did this before SA2 was turned in. And if you were my student in 1101, you would definitely say, and you did this in 1101. But the reason I'm going over this is because I still have, as you'll see, plenty of students who are not doing it correctly. Okay. All right. So if you type 1 in here, you just type in 1, and you go down here and it says 1, and you type in 2 here, then this is going to, up here, this is going to change to 2. Okay. So that's why you can't type it, the number in. You have to do the insert page number, top of page, and then right here. Okay. All right. And your last name is all capital letters. It's all capital. It's not all capital in the heading, but it is all capital in the header. Come on, MLA. Geez. Could you be more creative here? Okay. I put this here just because to indicate that this is an A paper. Okay. Normally that would not be there and it would look just like that. Okay. Jerry Garcia. Great guitar player. Awesome. I'm so happy he's in my class. Okay. From heaven. He's taking this course online from heaven. Way to go, Garcia. Love your solo and Sugar Magnolia, 1971. Yeah. Okay, my name, the class, and the due date. Great. If you highlight all this and go to paragraph, look, 0, 0, double. 0, 0, double. These are properly spaced. Some people have 8 in the after. That's incorrect. Okay. Some people, if I highlighted those first 6 lines, it would be blank. That means there's inconsistencies. That means that some of these lines are spaced at a different rate than others. But when I highlight all of it and it all comes up with 0, 0, double, that means it's all the same, which is the way it needs to be, all the same. Okay. All right, there's no additional lines. As we'll see in some of these essays, some people their essay doesn't begin till down here or even right here. No. And sometimes they don't begin their essay until they have a line in between their title and their first paragraph. That's wrong. There should be no additional spaces between any line, okay? Line. When I hit down, it goes straight to the next line, okay? The essay is indented. It's aligned here. All the paragraphs are on the same alignment as the header. I'm sorry, the heading. And then the right side. The right side is aligned correctly too, because it's all a straight line and it's all aligned with the header, okay? Because and if you look up here, the justify box is selected. Justify, see, justify. Many people, as you'll see, their alignment is to the left. So you have straight lines down here, and then you have jagged lines down here. Okay, that looks bogus. All right. It's like this side is how my wife cuts wrapping paper, and this is how I cut wrapping paper, which is wrong. Okay, we need straight lines. So we go to justify. Boom. Okay. All right. As we'll see, we have titles of poems are in quotation marks, which is correct. I went over it and it's done here correctly. There's capital letters. There's capital letters. Punctuation is inside of quotation marks. That is correct. Okay. We have references. The stylist is the name of a website. Names of websites, journals, newspapers are in italics. We have the author's name in parentheses outside of the quotation marks, but before the period. That is correctly cited. Okay. The quote is integrated into the sentence. Okay. Okay. We go down, paragraphs same. We go to works cited page, it begins on the very next page. Okay. All right, we don't need the colon there. There you go. We have a works cited page that has 3 quotes. Okay. If I'm ever not sure if you cited if you cited correctly, like the actual citation, I will do control find, and I'll type in the last name of the reference, and it comes up 2 results. There's one right there on the screen, and then if I hit this arrow, it takes me to the other one. Boom, it's done. That tells me this was cited in the paper. Same thing here. If I put in Highland, okay, 3 results. 1, 2. Oh, I guess it was just 2 because I marked it there. That's fine. All right, so it was cited in the paper. Wollstonecraft, there it is. Okay. Sometimes people have things listed in the works cited page. They have references here, but they never show up in the actual essay. That's wrong. If it's here on the works cited page, it has to be cited in the essay. Okay. All right. So this is a high A paper. Okay. All right. I'm not grading whether or not I agree with the writer's analysis of the poems, because that is Jared Garcia's opinion. And this is not a class where I determine whether your opinion is correct or not. I look at your communication and your style. Is it presented well? Okay. We save the opinion stuff for like psychology or history classes or philosophy classes or other classes that deal with the ideas. Okay. This class is focused on communication. So it's 1101. It's a base level course. Okay. All right. So this is an A paper. A paper. A paper. Save, don't save. Okay. All right, let's look at a B paper. This person. Okay. Sandra D. Sandra D's paper. Okay, it's a B paper. Already I can tell, this is not in the header. It's not gray, it's black. and I can click right into it. I don't have to double click to get there. It's right there. And I know that also, okay, so then you scroll down, D2. So this person, Sandra D, typed it in manually, okay? And somehow this ended up here, 3 of 8. So this is part of the reason why you got less points, okay? Should not be there like that. All of these need to be deleted. The extra line needs to be deleted, brought up. And oh, see, look, it causes all types of formatting issues like this. The last name needs to be all capitalized. I mean, look, at least the person, this is a B because at least the person tried. All right. I mean, at least they knew that there's supposed to be last name and page number. Okay. But the person just needs to understand, needs to learn how to do it correctly. All right. So instead, we double click, go to insert, page number, top of page, plain number 3, right there. And type in last name, D, and space bar. Boom. D1. Oh, something's wrong here. Let's see here. Let's get rid of this. I don't know if that's messing anything up. Okay. So this person, there is some sort of error in general in their paper, which would need to be fixed. I'm not going to go through to fix it right now. But once they figure out, let's see, let's try this again. Insert. Page number, top of page 3, page 2. Oops. Okay, D4. Okay. So then the heading, okay, now is correct. Let's do Control All. See if they're formatting, if their page, if the spacing is correct. We get paragraph. All right, the spacing is correct. Look, 0, 0, double. Great. Okay. All right. This side is justified, which is good. That's nice. All right. Right here we have a quote. We have a quote right here that's not integrated. Look, we have a period, quotation mark, period, quotation mark, and then a citation. That is incorrect. Okay. That period needs to be over here. And this needs to be like that. And we need some sort of integrated statement that connects the quote to a sentence that the person's already written. Okay. So got to make sure that we do that. We got to clear up this junk, this space between. Okay. See, when you manually put in your page numbers, it kind of screws everything up. Okay. Okay. The author called her intermission. Okay, there you go. There, that's some, that's integrated. Fine. That's. See, look, when I tell people, what a quote is integrated if you delete the quote and it leaves a incomplete sentence. Look, if I were to delete this, put a period there. If I delete the quote, we would have the author called it what? It's in that sentence is incomplete. Like, I don't know what he called it. All right, the quote, the quote has to be there. The quote is it's an integral part of the sentence. It has to be there, or the sentence does not make sense. That is an integrated quote. It's a correctly integrated quote. If I can delete your quote and there's no sign that the quote was there, then it's not integrated, and that's incorrect. It's a drop quote. Same thing here. She said, if I took this out, she said, but it still has a unique, mysterious charm, she explained. That makes no sense. What are you talking about? All right. That means that quote that I just took out is correctly integrated. So that's good. You got to integrate these quotes into the sentence. You cannot just have a quote by itself. Okay. All right. So most of these quotes are all integrated. Okay, except for this one though. We'll look though. So we have here, restless oceans, the sea could be understood as a tide of social progress in her time. Meanwhile, the move by a restless ocean may inform us that activism never works. Black women have been fighting for centuries against a lot of gender discrimination, a lot of racism in America. Yeah, that's all great. Okay. If we deleted these quotation marks, these quoted segments, it would not make sense. But then we have this whole long quote. If I delete that, we could read, meanwhile, the move by a restless ocean may inform us that activism never works. Black women have been fighting for centuries against a lot of gender discrimination and a lot of racism in America. We could feel and know that this should be, and know that in the poem, words against inequality are through a woman speaks, which is a confession and identity of the poem. Okay, it moves seamlessly from here to here. Okay, there's no bump. There's no fragments left. There's no incomplete sentences left. Okay, that tells us that that quote that I just deleted, this 4-line quote, was not integrated, because when I delete it, there's no evidence that it was ever there. Okay, that's a problem. That's what it means by a drop quote. It's like you had a complete paragraph and then you just dropped in a quote like pepper on macaroni and cheese. Okay, you just dropped it in. All right, and so there's no evidence, and it's not even put in correctly because we need that period on the outside of the. Okay, so I hope you understand. You got to integrate your quotes. All right. Okay, and this, before I did the whole. Originally, this was here like this before I deleted all those page numbers. Okay, and so here's works cited page, which is fine. I remember reading the Dixon and the King quotes are in there, so those are all good. Okay, so there's a lot good in this essay. The two bad things that screw everything up is the drop quotes and the page numbers. Okay, which is what resulted in it being a B, not an A. Okay, if the quotes are integrated correctly and the page numbers were inserted correctly in the last name, then it would have been A paper. Easy. All right. Let me see here. All right. I don't think I'm gonna go over the lower ones because there's still things to talk about with Candyman. So I think we're gonna move on from the going over essays. Okay, those are A's and B's. Those are what you should be striving for in the style of your essays. Okay, if you have any questions, if you're not sure if you're on the right track, whatever, you can always send me a little bit of your essay and I can take a little look over it and send you back some feedback. Okay, you want to make sure essay 3 is really good, because the score you make on essay 3 will if it's higher than essay 2, I will change essay 2's grade to match essay 3. Okay, but even if essay but essay 1 is not matched to the score of essay 3. Essay 1 was matched to your new score of essay 2. Essay 2 was higher. Okay, but now that I'm working on essay 3, the only essay that will be changed and upgraded will be essay 2. Okay, so if you had made a 50 on essay 1 and then a 75 on essay 2, well, that essay 1 was moved to a 75. But then if you make a 90 on essay 3, essay 2 will be moved to a 90, but essay 1 is still that 75. Okay. All right, let's talk about Candyman. I would normally ask if anyone watched it, but I don't want to put Jana on the spot here to ask her since she's the only one that's attending. Okay, so I'm going to go through this assuming everyone has seen, did watch Candyman, and maybe even listened to the analysis. Okay. So the things to talk about with Candyman. Okay. Now I'm really annoyed because last semester I made a really good PowerPoint on this film and this whole analysis. And I did it with one of my classes. I cannot find this PowerPoint. I don't know if I made it and I presented the same day I made it, and then somehow I didn't save it, or if I saved it at work on my work drive, but I can't access it here from my home drive. I don't know, but I'm very frustrated by it. Okay, so I'm gonna go over some main points, but it's not in the form of a PowerPoint. Instead, I know like you like to see stuff, so I'm gonna present to you some Google images on the things that I'm gonna talk about. Okay. So if I was writing a paper about Candyman, okay, I would discuss how it is a film that addresses racism and the toxic effects of white feminism. Okay. One of the books that I would use in my analysis that's not related to Candyman, but it's a great book called Hood Feminism. Oh, I mentioned Hood Feminism in my PowerPoint last week on about Juneteenth. Okay, Hood Feminism, notes from the women that a movement forgot. Okay, and Hood Feminism is about how the feminist movement for female empowerment is mostly focused on and has positive effects for white women. That's Mickey's sort of thesis. Okay, and this film addresses some of that. Okay, so in my introduction, I would be giving a summary of basic synopsis of what Candyman's about, and I would talk about how it addresses issues of racism and the negative effects of white feminism. Okay. So then one of the things I would begin with personally is the very beginning intro scene. Okay. The intro scene, if you watched it, you would know that they did this shot that now is really easy to do. But in 1992 or 91, when they were filming it, was not. Okay. They did this scene that today would be just if you had a camera on a drone. Okay. And it's a shot of Chicago, all right, looking down the city on this interstate, and it's following the pathway of the interstate from the more I guess wealthier side of Chicago, and it follows this road looking down all the way to the setting of where Candyman takes place. Okay, locations, which is in a impoverished part of Chicago. Okay, and so this symbolizes how this film, part of what this film is discussing is the disparities between the majority white population, well-off white population, and that of the impoverished side of Chicago, which is predominantly Black. Oh, here's another picture. Okay, and so it follows this pathway. Okay, and then it ends with this view of the city and this big cloud, dark cloud, which is actually bees they're bees. Okay. And the bees, if you saw the film, are reoccurring. Candyman is covered in with bees, and he's killed partially. The original person who was Candyman was killed by a swarm of bees. Okay, and the bees are protecting the upper side of Chicago. Okay, and so in the film, the bees represent the collective violence of racism. Okay, and how the bees are protecting the white upper class community, and these bees are what are what are used to kill the real person who's Candyman, because racism killed the main character, who the main character is black. Okay, the Candyman himself is black. Okay, and again, if you didn't watch the film, then this analysis is going to be somewhat difficult for you to understand. Okay, which is why I wanted you to Candyman. It's a story of a woman who investigates the myth of this black spirit who has a hook, who's allegedly going around and killing people in a black community. Okay. All right. So then if we talk about Helen. All right, Helen represents, she's the epitome of the white woman's tears. Okay. She thinks she cares about black people. Okay, because she's a doctorate student. She is trying to get her doctorate in mythology. So she lives in an ivory tower, which is represents people who have, it's a white, beautiful tower that people live high above everyone else below them. Okay, some people refer to the ivory tower as dealing with money and wealth. Others talk about it deals with extreme academics, intelligence, education, because it costs so much money to be overly educated. I mean, to go to universities and to study all the time, and to be able to have just money to support you while you study. Okay, even though most people who get upper level degrees are not wealthy at all, which is why it doesn't always deal with money. Okay, but it's this sort of, there's this criticism, which I think is true, that I see this as an educator, that studying something does not make you really able to understand it. There's a great satirical skit on Saturday Night Live called Black Jeopardy, and in one episode they have two black contestants on Black Jeopardy, and then they have a white professor of African American history, and he doesn't know any of the answers to any of the questions. Okay, because he doesn't really understand black people, even though he has an academic knowledge of them. Okay, and so that's, again, people, and I see this a lot with like being a teacher. There's teachers who are in the classroom, and then there are professors who study teaching, and they've interviewed teachers, and they become doctors in education, and they teach at universities. They teach people who are going to be teachers, yet they actually don't know a lot, really, what it's like to actually be in the classroom, because they've done all of their research through books and interviews and stuff. Okay, so Helen represents this. Okay, this white woman who lives safely in her ivory tower of academics and the wealthy neighborhoods in a nice apartment, and she is thinks that she is sympathetic to the black people who are in this community, but she does not really understand them, and she does not listen to them, because she has a best friend, Regina, okay, who kind of represents the interloper, the black woman who is not part of that of the lower impoverished community of Black people in Chicago, and it says she has moved to the other side, okay? But what she has to say is still not validated because Helen never listens to her, and it eventually causes Regina to lose her life, and she dies, even though she is the wise one. I'm calling her Regina. No, I'm sorry, it's Bernadette, not Regina. Different film. Bernadette is her name, and even though she is the voice of reason, because she is the middle ground between the two communities, she's still ignored by Helen. Okay, because Helen only wants to achieve what she wants to achieve. Okay. All right. So I would talk about about the two spears that this film discusses. Okay, and the line drawn in the middle. And then next would be the apartments. Okay, that kind of goes along with this. Helen's apartment building was built by the same architect who built Cabrini Green, which eventually became public housing, often referred to as the projects. Okay, affordable housing. All right, and so he made this guy realized that he could make more money by making public housing buildings. Okay, and so even though she has the same apartment as this apartment, okay, as these, all right, there's this idea that one is gentrification, okay, and that oh wait, no, and I'm sorry, this is backwards. Her building was at one time public housing, and then it was converted into apartments and lofts to be purchased. All right, and it removed the people who had the public housing. All right, and this is what we call gentrification. Gentrification is when white people go into a lower income Black or immigrant community, and they purchase up the low priced properties, and then they flip them, and they invest in them, and then they raise its value. And so then when this house that was worth $80,000 gets remodeled and it becomes worth $150,000, that makes the houses in that area start to go up. And then when the houses go up, even if someone's living in a house on a fixed income and their house becomes worth more money and they have no intention of ever moving, their taxes go up and they get more expensive. And as more money moves into an area, prices go up, because once more wealth moves into an area, Kroger, who is selling milk at $1.25, but then more and more people move in who have more money, well, they can get away with then raising the prices on that milk to $2 or $2.50, because they know that their clients can pay for it and will pay for it, the new customers. And then that's how prices in an area will gradually increase, because there's a knowing that there's more people here who can afford that. And it's not because of the market values of those items are going up necessarily. So if you go into other areas that have a lower housing value, prices of products in that area will generally be lower as well. Okay, and so gentrification is when people start to get priced out of their neighborhoods and they're forced to move and leave. Okay, and so so it was part of the idea of systemic racism, which is invisible racism. It's not the same as burning a cross in someone's yard. Okay, it's unintentional acts that lead to leads to negative effects upon one group of people. Okay, and so housing, gentrification, all these things have a long history of systemic racist effects. Okay, so I would talk about the apartments, how Helen's is the same apartment type building as Cabrini Green. Okay, but through the process of gentrification, all right, this forced a black exodus to move out of this area of the city and into a more rundown part of the city. Okay. All right. And so then finally, I would get to the, uh, the feminists and the problems with white feminist movement. Okay. Is that that many women of color feel, as this book talks about, left behind by feminists, okay, by mainstream feminism and the things that mainstream feminists push for, okay, and that that there's this idea that like there's solidarity amongst women when talking about when fighting against men, solidarity in women when fighting against the man. Okay. But then once that gets kind of moved off and looking at issues within women themselves, then this issues of prioritizing women over other women arises. And so in this film, we have Helen, and there is a character named Anne Marie, okay, who essentially becomes a victim of the action that Helen has started. Okay, and Helen unintentionally ends up damaging Anna Marie, and I won't go into for any spoilers or whatever, but ends up essentially like unintentionally stealing her child, or leading to the kidnapping of her child and killing of her dog and all sorts of things that wouldn't have happened if Helen wouldn't have stuck her head into all of this. And so the only way that Helen can save Anna Marie's child and save the people from what she has started is to kill herself. All right, to burn herself up in this pyre. She becomes essentially sacrificial. Okay. And so this kind of goes to this idea that there's a idea in this sort of Taoist idea of in order to find peace, you must get rid of yourself, get rid of your sense of self, and see that you belong to the bigger world, to Earth, to the community, to all of this. Okay, once you lose this sense of pride in yourself, okay, then you release all types of negative emotions. All right, and throughout this whole film, Helen's been very selfish in pursuing her this. It's almost Dr. Faustus is an old myth from 1,000 years ago about how Dr. Faustus, he sold his soul for knowledge, okay, for eternal knowledge that no one is supposed to know. He sold his soul. I mean, and this just alludes to the whole apple. Adam and Eve, they ate from the tree of knowledge. They sold their soul for knowledge that they weren't supposed to possess. Okay, and then we go to Dr. Faustus, same thing. There is this eternal knowledge which we don't know. That's the great big thing, is that we don't. The audience doesn't know what knowledge he gained by selling his soul to the devil. And the point is that we shouldn't want to know, because if we find out, then there goes our soul. Okay, and then this is what inspires the Frankenstein novel, where he went too far to try to find the secret to life, and by doing so, he created death, all right, in himself. And so there's a long history of people completely ruining themselves out of searching for this one thing that they think that they need, when really they should just let it go, because it's really selfish. It's ultimately selfishly based. And so with Helen, in order for her to really save this community, she must give up this drive, this need to know, and her own selfish pursuits, okay, and burn it away. Okay. And so the ending is more symbolic of a burning of one's ego, okay, getting rid of the ego, purging it, all right. And then the whole idea of the phoenix. I mean, that is the whole idea of the phoenix, burning your old self away to make yourself new. And so by her killing herself in the end, symbolic represents this destroying of her ego, and stop hurting people in the process of her trying to achieve such an individual idea or goal. Okay, in this case, her doctorate thesis. Okay, all right. So, oh, there she is. Okay, so that's the film. All right, it's focused on the effects of racism and the effects of white people inadvertently not trying to cause harm to other groups, but through their own selfish pursuits. All right, they have such a they do have these unintended outcomes that occur. Okay, all right. So that's what, like, if I was doing a film analysis of this, those are the things that I would talk about, that I would focus in on. All right. So when you are watching your film, try to find 3 things that stand out to you that you can interpret, that has meaning to it. All right. And talk about what statements it's trying to make. All right. So then, let's see. Jana, do you have any questions?
I do have a question.
Sure.
First of all, I feel like I need to say I did not watch the movie, but only because I get really bad nightmares. I did read about it and learned about the characters and stuff, so I wouldn't feel like an idiot on the call today, but I couldn't watch it. I'm too scared. But
I get that.
I did want to ask, maybe this is in the rubric, but so we're only analyzing 3 things. So I don't have to analyze the whole movie. You just pick out 3 things to analyze.
Yeah. You
okay.
can pick out like 3 things you want to talk about. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. That's my only question so far.
You do not. Yes. If you listen to the podcast, they went through, I mean, it's like 2.5 hours. They went through every single thing. And I love their analysis, but I'm not asking you to do that. Okay. You just pick a few things to talk about, and that's it. Okay.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could even talk about like soundtrack. Why is that song perfect for this scene? And you connect the lyrics to the song and what's happening in the scene, and it's a really perfect use of music. I mean, that could be something you talk about as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. I was wondering, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's going to take so much time to research things about the films that I wouldn't naturally know.
Yes.
And then try and do that through the whole movie would be difficult.
Right. No, that's way too much. You just pick a few things to talk about at all. Okay. And literally it could just be from one conversation. Like, this one conversation really struck you, like, oh, like, I know they're trying to say something in this one conversation. Like I said before, I think, like with Cold Mountain, there's just this one line about how Edmund says, if I had any good in me left, I shot it dead. That one line from a 2.5 hour movie, can be discussed all on its own about PTSD and the negative effects of war, so. Yeah, I mean,
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so let me new share. Okay, I'm going to show you all the rubric. Okay, the rubric that I'll be using for grading this. This is a screenshot of just level 5, the perfect. Okay, there's no point in me showing you level 4, level 3, level 2. It's essentially any other level is if you didn't do this, you get a lower grade. Okay. This has out for you the introduction. What you should really try to say in your introduction. The introduction meets all of the following requirements. What is the title of the play of the film? What is it about overall? Start leading to the things you are going to cover in your essay. 1 sentence per topic that will be discussed in your essay. So, if I was writing about Candyman, I would say, all right, the film Candyman, produced in 1992, is a story about an urban legend dealing with a former Black man who was murdered in the 1800s for being with a white woman. And now his ghost allegedly haunts the site in which he was killed, period. And then I'll have a few more sentences. The main character in the story is Helen, who's a doctorate student. She's a white woman who, as we found out later on, is essentially the reincarnation of Candyman's lover, in the cause of his death. All right. And she's on this hunt for trying to research for her dissertation, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then my third one would be, the film takes place in Chicago. And I mention these things because they're important to my points. So after I write those about 3 sentences about the basics of the film, then I would say into the things I'm talking about. Okay. The character of Candyman is important in a horror film because he represents the negative and horrific effects of racism on people, on the community, on individuals, blah 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 blah. All right, that is symbolized through the use of bees. And then I'll go into another sentence about Helen. Helen represents blah 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 blah, and the differences in, and then the use of the buildings being the same buildings, but one being in a much more upper class white community, and then the same building being in this lower class black community represents gentrification and the effects of blah 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 blah. Okay, so that would be my intro. About 3 sentences on on what the film is about, and only just highlight the things you're going to be talking about, and then 3 sentences about what each paragraph you're essentially going to write about is going to be about. One paragraph would be about Candyman and the bees. For me, one paragraph would be about the actual apartment buildings, and then one paragraph would be about Helen. Okay, and so 1 sentence for each of those. So if you follow that outline for the introduction, you'll be good. Body paragraph.
Sorry, quick question.
Yes.
So the title, which will be the name of the movie, will be italicized, right? Just to
Will be what?
italicized.
The yes, yes. Whenever you talk about your film, it should be in italics. Yes. So like Candyman would be in italics, in capital C for Candyman. If I was to do Cold Mountain would be in italics, and it with a capital C and a capital M. Yes. Okay. Gone with the Wind.
So then if we were referencing, I don't even know if I would do this. I'm just trying to think, because I'm sure I'll have to email you and ask you. But if I were then going to like reference maybe a scene in the movie, would I put that in quotation marks, or
no.
Or would I just state it like?
You would just state, in one particular scene. In one particular scene, we find the main character, blah blah blah, and she is blah blah.
I'm thinking if I were to say like, in this scene, I don't know, gosh, I can't even think right now, but like when Moana is standing at the ocean or something like, so that would just be, if I were to say it, I wouldn't do quotation marks or italics or anything.
No quotation marks.
Okay.
Unless, so like Inglourious Bastards, all right, a lot of Tarantino films have like chapters, and at the beginning of the chapter, it has a title. Okay. If you were referring to a little vignette or chapter of the film, that in the film it has that designation, then you would put that in quotation marks. Okay. But if the film itself, when you're watching it, there's at no point does a title pop up for this part, then you do not use quotation marks.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Like if we were talking about Friends, and you were doing an analysis of like 4 episodes of Friends, well, like Friends would be in italics, and then the reference to each episode would be the one with the party or the one with the, because those episodes are actually given titles within the series of Friends. But this film, if it doesn't have stories in it, if it doesn't have actual like titles, then you would just refer to in one scene or towards the middle of the film. There's a scene with.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on. Right. Sorry.
So 50% would be your body paragraph. You have at least 3 paragraphs. All right. Some people are dividing up like a paragraph into 3 different paragraphs, which they shouldn't be. Okay. A paragraph can be long if it's all in the same discussion, same topic. Okay. So this paper can be written with 3 body paragraphs, and I imagine those body paragraphs will be long. Okay. Separating paragraphs solely on the length isn't a reason for doing it. separating paragraphs because you move from one topic to another topic, that's important. Okay. So with Candyman, if I was talking about the character Candyman, okay, I could divide this into two paragraphs where I talk about how Candyman, the reason why he is killing black people is because of this, blah, 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 blah. That would be one paragraph because while I'm talking about Candyman, I'm talking about his motivation for killing black people. If I'm talking about Candyman and the bees and why he always has bees on him, that's a different paragraph. Even though they both deal with Candyman, okay, the nuance in the topic of Candyman is different. Candyman and why he's killing black people is instead of white people would be one paragraph, and Candyman and the connection to bees would be another paragraph. All right. So like when you are writing, when y'all are writing, you need to decide. You need to make sure that if you are talking about that you're talking about one major idea per paragraph. You can have multiple paragraphs on the same character, but different points you're making about that character. Okay. Um, but if you're talking about the same topic and it just happens to be a long paragraph because you have some summary, you have explanation, you have some points you're making, contextual support, and then analysis, those should be all one paragraph. Some people are separating those paragraphs up. They're doing like their claim. So they have like a short, like 3-line paragraph. And then they're doing some evidence in another paragraph. And then they're doing their analysis in a third paragraph. And that's incorrect. That should just be all one paragraph, even though it's going to be long. Okay. Claim, support, analysis. So you can write more than 3 body paragraphs. You can write as much as you want. Okay. You can talk about, but like you need to discuss at least 3 points. And those 3 points need to be in their own paragraphs. So you can talk about 4 points. You can talk about 5 points, as long as they're all in well-developed paragraphs. Okay.
Sorry, another question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you pick like a kind of a broad topic, like maybe the character's personality, and then there's many different like sub things about their character defects or whatever, and there's many different types. It would still be one paragraph because it's talking about the personality of the character?
Well,
Even though we may be going in detail about 3 or 4 different aspects of that. Does that make sense?
It would depend, especially if you're talking about how they have like pros and cons, like let's say we're talking about a sort of an anti-hero like character who is both savage yet also can be kind. Okay, so let's say you're analyzing like The Walking Dead, and we're talking about Daryl and how Daryl is both like a total savage dude. I mean, he has no problems killing people. He's not nice. He's not really complimentary. All those kind of things. Okay, but at the same time, though, he does have a soft spot for very specific people. Okay, so if you want to have equal conversations about both of those, then you would have 2 separate paragraphs. If you want to mention one to then highlight another one, then it might be one. So like I might begin about how Daryl is brutish, he's dirty. He's probably has the largest number of kill counts in the show. He's killed the most people, okay? But all that is to prop him up as dangerous to then highlight those sensitive moments that he has. So really the most of the paragraph is about his sensitivity. Okay. Then like you use the one type of emotion to lead into the other, where the main point you're making is really focused on that one emotional side. You know what I'm saying? So if you want, if you want to do equally, you want to talk about equally this side of that character and equally this side of the character, then you would want to have their own paragraphs. Okay. And you'd want to focus on, okay, this character is angry. All right, this character is angry because of these things. Here's the evidence of that person's character. But this is why this anger, these are the effects of that anger. This is why he benefits from that anger. And then you can over here you can say, but that character is also very sensitive. Here's the evidence of that character is being sensitive, and this is why it's good that that character is sensitive. So you're having equal amount of conversation on both characteristics. And that's
Right.
fine. I mean,
Okay.
you can do this essay could be on one character, and you could write 3 or 4 paragraphs about the complexities of the character. I mean, like, if again, to go back to Cold Mountain, I could write a whole essay on just Ada and how she evolves through the film, and how that's what we call a character arc, how the character changes or becomes more complex through the story.
Okay. So if we did that, like, say, analyzed a character and all 3 paragraphs were different aspects of that character,
Mhm.
then would the name of our essay still be the name of the movie, or would it now be the name of the character?
You can give your essay any name you want,
Okay.
as long as
Perfect.
you write it correctly.
Okay.
The title of your essay is not in italics, and the title of your essay is not in quotation marks, but the title of your film, if it's used in the title of your essay, is
Okay.
in italics.
Okay, got it.
So, your title could be Ada's journey from codependent girl to independent person. I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be, as long as it's
Okay.
positioned correctly and there's no extra lines above it or below it.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right. I didn't add on here a conclusion, but you should have a conclusion, and your conclusion will be part of the body paragraphs, and about, like, did you like the film? Did you not like the film? What did you think of the film? Was it good? It can be personal. All right, MLA formatting and works cited page. Again, if you have to have 3 sources. You have one source at least that you reference per paragraph, okay? Because that's a requirement for the course. It can be the source can be applied to your analysis, or it can be actually about the actual film. And if it's in the works cited page, it has to be cited in your essay. Okay. All right. I'll upload this so you can refer to it. I'll upload it here. Let me see here. Let's see here. Save. You'll find it in the essay 3 folder. Okay. So essay 3. Here's where. Oh wait, this is the wrong class. Let's see, lessons. All right. Say 3. Yeah, here. Okay. Wait, I think this is the wrong class also. Wherever I put the link in your actual class is where I will upload the rubric. Okay. And the link to the Dropbox to submit your essay is already been published. So, like I said, after going over, let's say you've already written your essay, and after going over this, you realize, oh, I just made an announcement about the way I want your outline to be. So you fix your outline, okay, and then you are ready to submit. Here it is. Okay. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Then you can go to lessons, and Unit 4, film analysis, and then essay 3, film analysis. This is where you submit your paper. Okay. And you can do it as early as you want. Again, whatever grade you make on it is the grade you get. And whatever final grade you see in the class, the final grade you get in the class. Okay. And there's no, oh, can I redo that, please? It wasn't that good. Nope. Okay. Once it's submitted, it's submitted. Okay. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, you can email me your questions, and I will be more than happy to answer them. All right. Jana, do you have any last final questions that I can answer for you?
I don't think so.
All right, great. Good times, y'all. All right. Well, then that's it. It's the last time you're going to see this right here. Okay. But I will be available for any emails, answer any questions that y'all have. All right. Then have a good week and enjoy writing your essay. Take it easy, Jana.
Bye. Thank you for your help.
Bye-bye.